Hey, listener, this is just a quick heads up that the audio quality for the first 15 minutes is lower than I would like because we forgot to start our cloud backup. However, once we get through that 15-minute mark, things get a little bit better, so just hang in there. Promise it's worth it. Thank you for listening and enjoy the show.
You know what? I'd like to throw a rock at one.
Oh, here we go.
Why are you our problem member?
Hello, and welcome back to ApocaPodcast. This is episode 6 of our alpha test, Lost Treasures of the Apocalypse, if I remember correctly. I don't know, it's been almost over a month since we recorded. I don't quite remember. It's been a while. But last time, if I recall correctly, and you guys feel free to ask questions, you had been ambushed at a bridge over a river as you were working your way through the forest to find an ancient ruin. And the reason you are looking for this ruin is because you are trying to rescue a lost techno-archeologist by the name of
Larry.
Okay,
Larry.
It was.
That's right. Larry the Cable Guy. He has an official name, but I prefer his in-game name of Larry the Cable Guy. And you were sent on this mission by Jenkins. Old Man Jenkins was the first techno-archaeologist that you met in town, and Larry was Jenkins' partner. Jenkins gave you a story, which I can remind you what the details are if you need, because that was a while ago. But he told you the story of how they found the ruin. They got ambushed somehow. Jenkins left to get home safely because Larry told him to leave. And then Larry never made it back. And so there's this open-ended question of what happened to Larry. And so at this point, you had just finished a fight with some giant spiders. Ron had come up with a concoction using some pharmaceutical supplies that he had to create a attracting pheromone, I believe, that lured the spiders away, and then everyone retreated over the bridge into I guess it's an island in between two rivers, which is the supposed location of this ruin. So, does that jive with your memories?
Yeah.
Does indeed.
Cool. Any other questions before we jump into this session?
I don't remember how John made it across.
That's true.
I think I just ran.
Okay.
And then I think Barbara forcefully encouraged me across.
That makes sense.
Well, gotta try everything twice, right?
Yep.
Yes.
I think I wasn't going to say, but because I didn't want you guys to take advantage of it, but I guess since it's probably the last session, I decided on a new liability.
No.
And it is a fear or general mistrust of anyone that wears gloves.
I mean, we're in an apocalypse. Everyone's wearing gloves.
No, that's just a stereotype.
Hey, Gray, are you wearing gloves?
Obviously.
It goes person to person, though. Like, if it's, if workers wearing gloves, I don't like it, but, they're just workers. It's like,
All right,
like the fitted gloves. Creepy guys.
Okay. All right. Like marching band gloves.
You're looking for those people with like the white gloves.
Oh, if they're white, that's like.
What about the ones that have like the fingers cut off, like half off?
Those are probably just other bikers.
Yeah.
And part of the fear is I don't know what's under them.
Oh, okay. All right.
So if the fingers are cut off, I can see, it's just normal hand. It's not like decaying or anything.
Who hurt you?
The spider.
I don't know. I had to think. I said I was going to have another liability every time, so I had to think something up.
No, you're not wrong.
I mean, there are people who have that, so.
Okay. Well, with that wonderful new liability, I will ask everyone to make an insight check as you walk through the forest onto this island. Well, I guess run. I think John is running. I'm not certain.
Okay.
But Ron is leading the way.
I'm on the other side.
Guys,
We're good.
I promise you, we're gonna get out of this alive. Maybe.
Well, -3.
+1.
All right. So for the record, blue. I'll put up here. Blue is the good die, and green is the bad, because green makes you sick. And so I got 5.
Okay, wow.
Wow. What is your insight? Like 3 or something?
It's 2.
Oh, 2.
Oh,
okay.
I have 1. -3.
Nice.
Oh, God.
So, I mean, I guess I'll say we probably have Ron leading the way, John in the middle, and Gray in the rear. And so Gray is probably more preoccupied about making sure more spiders don't sneak up from behind. And so he's not looking forward right now. He is looking backwards. And then Ron, it makes sense that he has the highest roll. He's leading. He's got the highest risk being in the front. And so you are leading the group through the forest at a brisk pace because you don't really know how long that pheromone serum is going to last. You just kind of threw it together. You know it worked, but you're not going to stick around and test it and see how long it lasts.
Frankly, I'm surprised it worked.
Oh, and if you haven't already, I think that cost you your +2 something.
Yeah,
you bought one of those bonus things.
2 insight for, I think it was for perception.
Yeah. So that you spent that pharmaceutical to create that potion.
Yep, it was worth it.
And you're going through the forest. You're looking around. Everyone notices that the sun is starting to come up now. It is more or less day. You had arrived kind of at night, and you kind of marched through the night. And the sun was just coming up when you reached the bridge, and now the sun is really starting to come up. But the trees are pretty thick. You got to see the sky a little bit at the river, because obviously there's no trees growing in the river, so that opened up some view of the sky. And you don't really notice any of the vines, which you now know are spider webs. So you don't notice any of those spider webbings in this area of the forest. As you start to walk through, you see some animal paths, some areas that look like they've been kind of beaten down a little bit more. The plants are actually smaller. What you've been going through was very, very mature forest, giant, thick redwood type trees. Here, the trees are a little bit smaller. You can go ahead and make a know-how roll if you want, but I would say that off the top of your head, you'd probably think this is an island. It's smaller. Maybe the ground isn't so great.
-1.
Just get him out of the way now.
6.
6.
Oh,
okay. If you want, you don't have to.
Oh.
No, at this point, he's just, actually, these trees are this, and this tree's that, and he's just giving a tour now.
Just ignoring him again.
Yeah. And so as you're walking through, you notice there just seems to be a lot more life in this area, and you can follow some of these animal paths towards the center of this island, and you come to a clearing, right? And so at this point, there are no trees in this middle of this clearing. You step out, you see the sun beaming down through the treetops, because the trees kind of grow up on the sides of the clearing, and then the limbs kind of reach over it, and so the light is passing through. and you look up and you see that there is this, to what you or I would be a very peculiar looking animal with 6 legs and kind of large, almost like elk antlers, those big flat antlers. It kind of looks up and sees you, and it spooks, and it runs off into the forest with a nice little pitter-patter of leaves because it's fall. And otherwise, it's a flat, kind of grassy clearing. And with a roll of would you have a 5 for your perception?
Yep.
So as you look at the clearing, there are a couple things that are very obvious. Everybody sees that in the middle of this clearing is a small domed gray structure that has been overgrown with vegetation. Kyle, with his higher roll, notices that at the top of this structure there seems to be some kind of a strange mechanical gizmos, but you can't really see between the foliage and how far away you are. And there's also some, like, in the field itself, there's some, like, green, I'll probably say, like, grapefruit-sized spheres. At least from this distance, they look like green grapefruit-sized spheres. And then the field itself is, I don't know, I'll say 250 feet radius, so 500 feet across. I don't know, is that reasonable? Am I just making this up?
You are the one making it up, so I'm good.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm good.
So
I feel like that's a reasonable number.
The spheres, are they plopped on the ground, or are they floating?
So they're on the ground.
Okay.
And I'd say there's probably maybe a dozen of them.
Are they in a particular fashion, or are they scattered?
There's no pattern,
Okay.
per se. It's not like they were laid out in a grid.
Right.
They seem like they were kind of scattered across this field. Do you want to stand at the edge and just kind of wait for a minute and perceive, what's going on, or would you like to head in?
At this point,
And this goes for everybody.
yeah. Ron feels confident enough after his ingenuity of last time. He's just like, well, why don't we take a look?
I'm gonna hang out under the trees for a minute, just to see what happens.
Oh, no, I understand. Yeah, you don't want to get dehydrated. Stay in the shade a little bit. You need to cool down.
I'm just gonna go with Ron. I'll kind of squat down next to one, take a closer look.
I hope nothing here is making you squeamish. A small wind, perhaps?
Is it chilly? Does anyone need to put gloves on?
Don't start.
Okay, so for the sake of clarity, I'm going to say that you guys have entered the field or the clearing on the south edge. It's more or less a circle. And so you're heading north up towards the gray structure. And so as you start to walk into the fields, there's these green spheres kind of scattered everywhere. And as you start to get closer, you start to see a little bit more detail. You notice that the green spheres are moving. And if you continue to get a little bit closer, you'll notice that they're actually some kind of creature, like a grub or a big, short, chunky caterpillar almost. And so it's not perfectly round anymore. It's kind of more like blobbish, but from a distance, the closest thing I could think of was just a round grapefruit.
I would like to roll know-how with focus on nature. See
Yeah,
if I can
for sure.
identify what these megafauna are. That is a 5.
5. So have you been in these forests before, or do you spend most of your time in the desert? What do we think about Ron's background?
Ooh, I would say he's probably, he's more desert, but he's been to the forest before, but he's definitely more a desert guy.
Okay, so you will have not seen this particular creature before, but you'll have seen something like it. This is a scug.
A skug.
Yeah.
You are familiar with kind of like brown skugs, and they are parasites. They will burrow into creatures with their little mouths. They're very similar to ticks, but big, soft, fleshy ticks that'll just kind of like drain blood and fluids, and they're just nasty creatures. But these are not the brown skugs. These are green. They would be known as a herbaceous skug because they live on plants. And so they're actually chewing on some of the smaller plants. And if you look at some of the trees, some of them are mounted on the side of the tree and kind of like draining sap out of the side of the tree. They're still parasites, but they're plant-based.
Ron
Still die.
Ron stands up and yells a little bit to Gray, they're alive, but they only eat plants. Just don't threaten them.
Prove it. You can go ahead and touch one. I'm
not going to touch it. I just say they won't harm you. Just stay out of their way.
You know what? I'd like to throw a rock at one.
Oh, here we go.
Why are you our problem member?
Why don't you use the stick again? That served you well last time.
Nope, throwing a rock.
So Gray picks up a rock and chucks it at a herbaceous skug.
Not hard. I just want to kind of hit it to see what it does.
Just like a little lob.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you see the closest one and you search around for a rock. Oh, a far one.
One that's not near me.
Oh, I think you're far away enough. It's near me.
I was going to say, are you looking for one near someone else or away from everyone?
Rolling for skugs.
Just one that's not near me.
Okay, yeah, I'll say that you're nice enough that you pick one that's kind of like away from everybody.
Yeah,
and you kind of
total chaotic.
You lob a rock and it sails. So why don't you? They're pretty small. Why don't you go make an attack roll for me?
Oh, I rolled. I got a 4.
Okay, yeah, four is good enough. They're not that far away, and they're not moving. They're pretty slow, and so you lob this rock, and it hits it, and you hear, "Beep," and it just like tumbles over and rolls to the side, and it's like on its back with its six little legs flailing, and it doesn't really know what to do. It's just kind of there, and the other ones don't seem to care.
I said it wasn't hurting anything.
You're welcome.
Okay, can we move on now? Are you happy?
Yeah.
I think you had to really think about that one.
I'm still just leery about it, making sure it's not going to get up and run at us.
Okay. We proceed forward then. Away from the herbaceous skugs.
Skugs.
Okay. So they're all kind of throughout this field, but you just kind of march through towards the large gray structure in the middle. And it's there. It's a big gray steel, maybe? Some kind of metallic structure. Again, it's overgrown with vegetation and vines and things like that. And now that everyone is closer, they can see that there are kind of strange mechanical things on the top. But again, you can't really see. So what do you do?
Is there any obvious, what we would know as a door?
So you are currently on the south side, and you don't really see anything other than vegetation. There might be a door behind the vegetation if you tore it down, but you are also only seeing one of 4 sides. It's probably, I don't know, maybe a 15-foot, no, I'll say 20-foot diameter.
Okay, so it's pretty small.
And it looks more or less circular.
And are there any trails, like game trails or roads or anything that looks like it's being walked? Like something walking to it or out of it?
Do you just want to search this spot, or do you want to walk around the building? Because you currently didn't see a whole lot coming in.
Yeah, I'm good walking around a little.
That's what I was going to start doing a broad walk around it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, everybody make me just an insight check.
Oh, come on. 0.
Yes, I got a 3.
I also got a 3.
Nice. Cool. Yeah, so you guys kind of fan out and start walking around the building. And Ron notices that there is some kind of like small black liquid spots leading from the building towards the southwest. And you guys came in from the south. Gray went the other way around the building. He goes from the south towards the east to the north. And once he rounds that corner from east to north, you notice there's actually a lot of black splotchy liquid right next to the structure, and then a series of splotches heading to the north.
I'll go ahead and can I yell to them and let them know this?
Yeah.
All right, I'll just, guys, there's black goo all over the ground.
I think I'm starting to see some here as well. I would like to see if I can identify this.
Yep, that would be a know-how, and then if you have a specialty in nature, right?
Yes. Does that specialty count here?
So just give me your know-how, because I don't want to tip my hand and tell you what it is. And so if it's nature, I'll give you a +1 on my end.
All right. Well, I rolled double 1, so I got a 3.
Okay.
Do you... I haven't really seen this, I'm assuming. Just those two kind of for now.
Well, Gray called to you,
okay.
So he made you aware of it. So if you want, the rest of you want to make a know-how, that's also...
Yeah, I was going to say, I'll take a look too. It sounds like maybe oily or something. My specialty is mechanical. Oh, come on. 0. Unless I get a bonus to mechanical, I don't know.
I got 2, and I have nature.
Oh, okay. So everybody is more or less convinced that this is some kind of mechanical oil. This is definitely something that maybe you've seen it before in scrapping, some kind of hydraulic fluid, perhaps. You're not entirely certain, but you know that it's kind of like a synthetic. It's not like a natural oily substance. Kind of like when you hit the vines, you're like, oh, this is a biological. This is not biological. This is some kind of oil, mechanical something.
All right. I just want to make sure I'd continue to go all the way around because I don't want to just stop there.
I think, Eric, so I got the drugs that help my insight.
Mm-hmm.
It cost me 200. I think that was a half a day's worth. Does that sound right?
I think so.
I didn't get the expensive one.
Yeah, it wouldn't get you all the way home, but you seem to be at the point of interest, and so
yeah, this seems to be like the time to use it.
This is a high value.
All right,
moment.
So I'll get a plus. I think it's +1 to insight now. Temporary.
Yeah, I think we said it was kind of like a synthetic adrenaline, and we had fast release and slow release, and so you can go ahead and you have your well-prepared pharmaceuticals from Thurlow Stoneclaw. Very clean, pristine. You get premium quality ingredients from Thurlow. And so you follow his instructions, and you get this little injector, and you get hit with kind of this rush of like energy, like, whoa! And like your pupils dilate, and all of a sudden the world is very intense for half a second, and then it kind of dulls just a little bit, and so you feel just a little bit more attentive to everything.
Nice.
But not in a bad way. This isn't like you've taken something bad. It's just it's like almost like you had a cup of coffee, but this is like a double espresso without the withdrawal from caffeine. It's a little bit softer.
Yerba mate.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's an yerba tea, that's right.
Wow, gents, you should really try this sometime. This is great. Good thing is it's expensive, or else I'd be buying more of it.
Oh, I mean, I had some, but I turned it into... Well, apparently the spiders liked it too.
Should have let Gray handle them and taken it for yourself.
I don't need that stuff. I'm tough enough.
Well, clearly.
Gray says no to drugs.
That's right. Just say no. Stay in school.
Gray says no to school.
He needs to know that he can take bigger things than him without being drugged up.
Exactly.
It's probably an important thing.
I would like to note that my gloves say dare on them. I'm just kidding.
Nice.
Did you say gloves?
No.
Anyway, so Gray continues circling around the building. Gray and Ron confirm that they're seeing the same thing. And so, yeah, there's a big oily splotch right in front to the north of the side of the building that leads to a trail of progressively smaller splotches to the north. And then you can kind of perceive a really tiny trail heading from north to the southwest. So one could imagine that there was a leaking source that started at the building, went north, and then went to the southwest. If that makes sense.
Doesn't seem good.
I would like to take another closer look. I'm just looking for like sensors, cameras, tripwires, that kind of stuff. Just want to do my due diligence and making sure we're not going to set something off, since it seemed like the other guys did.
Yeah. So I should mention, I got preoccupied with the oil. On the north side of the building, there's also a... let me check, I wrote this down. To the north side, there is a podium topped with a shiny black rectangular tablet, in addition to the liquid. And so I'll follow up with Scrapper John.
Oh,
maybe.
I got a 4.
Awesome. And that's to look for booby traps, essentially?
Yeah, and like cameras, sensors, looking... Basically, I'm trying not to set anything off.
Yeah. So I will say that you definitely notice there are cameras on this gray structure. There is the overgrowth that seems to have been cut away to reveal the cameras so that they're not grown over. There are, again, the mechanical gizmos on top, but you'd have to get closer to like figure out what those are. If you wanted, or I should say, do you want to examine for traps near the podium?
Yeah, I'll just take a closer look at the podium. Let's see what we get. 2, 3, 4, 5.
No, I'm gonna keep your 4.
Oh, okay.
It was a good roll. I can take your 5 too. That's fine. But you approach the podium cautiously, looking for any sensors, things like that, and you don't notice anything out of the ordinary besides the cameras that are already on the structure, like the larger structure, which they would have seen you. You're already out in the field. Like there's nothing that hasn't set anything off, so you're not super worried about them suddenly going off now. And so you don't touch anything, but you examine the podium. There doesn't seem to be anything there. There is a... you think you see something in the overgrowth. I take that back. You notice that the overgrowth on the building near the podium doesn't look right. The rest of the building appears to the very natural growth process. This appears almost disheveled, like it was a pile instead of a natural growth.
Interesting. Alrighty. Well, I'm going to call out to the other guys and kind of point out that the podium looks suspiciously covered.
Okay.
Oi! That's it.
Just oi.
Oi. I guess at the same time, I'll just carefully kind of start pulling some of it away, try and reveal the podium better.
Yeah. Do you use your stick? Your spider stick?
I think I got rid of that.
Okay. So you start pulling away vines, and the more you start to pull them away, the more you realize that this is like, these were cut and put here, like to hide or cover this up. And because they just fall away, and then you can clean. It's a round pillar, the podium, with a black rectangular slab on top that's very shiny, and you wipe your hand across the top to like brush off, whatever vegetation is on there, and all of a sudden it kind of like gives a blue glow, and then it displays a whole bunch of blue symbols and markings and what you would think is some kind of a language.
So Barbaron will probably have joined at this point. And looking at that, thinking back to the symbols that Thurlow pointed out to him, is he seeing something similar? Does it look a similar font, language?
So you look at the podium, and there are symbols that you may have seen just around, because you've lived in the apocalypse, so you've seen ancient things before, and so you've seen this language before. This is whatever the previous common language was. The written form of it may or may not have survived during the apocalypse. Each of you may have various understanding of how to read or write in this ancient script. But however, along the border of the tablet, you do see a series of not letter symbols, but like icons or logos almost. And so if you think back to the large robots that you found, the earth movers that you came across earlier, let me make sure I check my notes. Yeah, so you see one of the symbols that you saw on the robot was a mountain range. I didn't have it at the time in my notes, but that mountain range is also on this tablet. But there are 5 other symbols. So the symbols are a 3-legged animal, a crystal that looks like an elongated hexagon, a circle with a bunch of lines inscribed in it, the omega symbol, a hexagon with the letters ATA inscribed, and then the mountain range that I had previously mentioned. And so I can go through those again if you need me to.
Did you say Omega?
No.
Yes.
Like Ultramarines? 40K nerd joke.
Nice.
Actually, Barbaron will look at the Omega symbol. Does he have... did Thurlow give him something with that symbol, or did he just show it?
So the other 2 were not there for your conversation with Thurlow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not here. If possible, I'd like to be trying to climb up the structure.
You can do that. While they're messing with the tablet,
Yes.
You can climb up.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay.
And there's a lot of vines, so you don't even have to roll for it.
Okay, that's kind of what I was hoping.
It's almost like a ladder. You just kind of croll right up.
Yep.
And so they're looking. I'll jump back to Gray in just a second to answer Ron's question. Thurlow did talk to you. He drew a picture of he was looking for a rectangular card with the Omega symbol on it. So he did not give it to you, but he was searching for more information.
All right. So Ron will just point out to John. He just goes, I've seen this symbol before. You should be looking for things with that on it.
And so while that conversation is happening, Gray gets to the top. And you are now very close to the mechanical gizmos. So if you want to make a knowledge check to figure out what they are, you can do that, or you can do something else.
Yeah, no, I'll try to just look at it. Guys, I'm not going to throw a rock at it.
Good.
Oh, yeah. 2?
A 2 is enough. You recognize this as weather equipment. There seems to be like a weather vane for getting the direction. There's those little cups that catch the air and spin to get air speeds. There's a couple of other gizmos that you're not entirely certain like how they work, but there's like tubes and bulbs and things that you would assume to get atmospheric pressure. And there's also, if you look, the top is actually clean. Again, there doesn't seem to be vegetation right on the very top where the gizmos are.
Does it look like it's cut away, or it's just not there?
It looks like it's been cut away with a clean edge of some kind, not like torn. And there's a hatch on the top of this.
That's what I was wondering next. So I'd like to notice the hatch, yell down to them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going in.
Wait, what?
Wait, just 1 second. Let's, I'm having my own hypotenuse down here.
I think that's called hypothesis.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's what I said. Anyways, so here's what I'm thinking, right? We got this substance on the ground. We know it's not organic. We know our friend, who is more machine than robot, is probably injured during his time here. Do we think maybe he's leaking and has gone off? Do we think we want to investigate this before?
Just because he has machine parts doesn't mean he's bleeding oil.
You never
He
know.
could be in there and he needs a rescue.
We don't know. I'm just wondering which would be more prudent. Follow the trail or open the hatch, which contains possibly bad things.
The trail could also have bad things.
That's true. We just don't know.
Well, at this point, I'm really curious. Ron is really curious to know what's in there because of all the symbols and stuff going on. He says, "All right, hold up, Gray. I'm coming with."
The people have spoken.
Okay, so Ron is going to the top of the structure? Is that what I understood? Okay.
I'll just watch them.
Yeah. Yeah, you go on up and...
Ron, before, just turns around quickly and just, bye.
I'd like to suddenly turn my camo cloak on.
You can do that. Ron goes to the top. Gray points out the weather equipment that he had identified, and between the two of you, you agree that this is some kind of weather measurement equipment. And he points out the hatch on the top, and how all the vegetation has been clean cut away. You know, this wasn't like something was torn off. It looks like something was cut with a knife.
I'd like to just, as I'm explaining this without him knowing, I'm slowly backing away. Just a little. Just so that he's a little closer, so
He's at the front, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ron.
Let me just for no reason grab some dice over here.
Yep.
I saw what happened to him with the giant spider, so I'm a little leery about Ron. I feel like he's attracts things. I start trouble, but he attracts things.
Now, all I'm saying is, this is a great opportunity. We could make some profit out of this.
While I agree, I also recall the original story of danger and mystery and sirens. Many bad things, but we have to take a chance one way or another. So go for it, Ron.
And I agree.
Those are all just crazy tales told to clear away the rubble so that the truly bold can take advantage.
I also forgot to tell you I had a dream last night. And in this dream, I was with 3 other companions and we were told not to open a door, but we did anyways. And
What's
man,
that?
it
As
was...
he opens the door.
All right, so the hatch itself does not have a handle. So you can feel at the edges, you can try and pull on it, but it's pretty stuck unless you're going to try and brute force it somehow. Or come up with some other method to open it. It does not appear to... It's not like a doorknob where you're just like, all right, here we go.
I have advanced techno pliers that I could perhaps use as leverage.
You do. You do have those.
At the same time, I'm going to purposefully, but not even look at the display, just kind of like hit one of the buttons.
Just hit a button.
Are you guys trying to kill him?
That's more chaotic than me.
Yeah, okay, so Ron is starting to use his techno pliers, which I will say that if you want to use your bonus, you can do that, because your pliers normally give you a bonus to healing, but I'll need some, like, either mechanical, so it'd be mechanical know-how or strength roll to try and pry the hatch up, and then I gotta figure out what happens when you hit a button while that happens.
All right.
How many buttons were there?
You press one button. First you wipe it, and there's kind of just like text. And then if you hit the first symbol you see, it will prompt more text. And so it just kind of like displays more, and it almost brings up a keyboard. And so like the first button is kind of like a button, but the next one's kind of like a freeform answer.
Interesting.
And there's like a glowing, it starts a rectangle glowing on the podium. So on the black display, like a blue rectangle appears, in addition to all the text.
Okay.
Type in ABC 1, 2, 3.
And Ron got a 6. Is that what you said?
I didn't roll yet. Okay. So that is a 5 then, not including the bonus from the plier.
Cool. Yeah. So with that, you notice kind of like the hinges, and you notice the seal, and you've got your fancy pliers that you've used. And so, give me some flavor about your pliers, how they work, and how you kind of open this hatch.
So the pliers are they have a bunch of what looks to be almost a glowing circuitry around them, vastly intricate. And the head of the plier itself, it's almost like a monkey wrench in that you can adjust the size, except in addition to size adjustment, it can also adjust the length of the plier. So it could be anything from as intricate as pulling wires or teeth for no apparent reason, or it could be trying to grab onto a lug nut, or any kind of giant bolt of something. It could even be possibly elongated a little bit for other forms of leverage, but usually it's for surgical. But you've seen them apply it otherwise.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. I think you use all of those features. You use your lug nut feature to open up some larger bolts. You have your needle nose to like pull out some gasket that's in the way. You lengthen it up into almost like a crowbar, and you lean back, and the hatch pops. And you look down into this dark hole. And I'll keep your technology or know-how roll from before, and what you see kind of buried inside is some even fancier electronics that are attached to a satellite dish.
With that, Ron just kind of put his hands on his hips and in triumph gives a kiss on the pliers, regardless of where they've been, and kind of waves over Gray and jumps down.
So before you jump,
okay,
you can't jump into the structure from the top. You do most of that, but then right before you jump, you hear a grinding of metal and a releasing of like a pneumatic pressure.
Oh.
Uh-oh. What was that?
At this point, I'm gonna want Scrapper John to tell me if he was serious about his cloak or not.
Oh yeah, because as I've displayed in other times, I'm kind of paranoid in these situations.
Okay, cool. So that's the information you got.
You jumping?
I'm jumping.
All right, Ron jumps down.
Somebody's got to.
And Scrapper John, who is already on the ground by the podium, sees round hatches open up on the side of this gray structure. And you see two silver spheres or sphere-like objects shoot out. Not in the same spot, but you see like one kind of to, let's say you're on the north now, and so you see one shoot out to the northeast and one shoot out to the northwest.
Nice. Nicely surrounded.
Yeah, so not at you, but to both your left and your right, and so that's what you see. And then Ron jumps down, and he sees. Which side do you jump down on, Ron? North, south, east, west. The podium is on the north.
I would say I jump to the other side of the podium, so to the north.
So you are at the front of the building with John.
Yes.
Okay, so you're on the north, so you see the same thing, and Gray is still on top. So why don't you make me a perception check to see what you see? So that would be insight. You can see him slipping back into Pathfinder.
All right, I'm just waiting for my attack rolls to be detrimental.
I got a 3
because I got a 5.
Cool. Yeah, so you're watching Ron, who jumps down, and so you see the same thing that they do. These spheres that are shot to the northeast and the northwest. And you notice them, and you hear kind of mechanical tinking, and the spheres kind of unroll into, don't panic, small spider-like creatures.
Oh my.
But they're about the size of a soccer ball.
Huh. Do they seem outwardly hostile?
They start skittering around, and let's see, what do they do?
While you're thinking what they do, I slowly unsheath my hatchet.
Yep. They don't see you because you have your stealth cloak on, and why don't you roll me a d6?
Just one? Well, I got 2 4s, so I guess it doesn't matter.
Yeah, so I'll say you have 4 rounds of invisibility. How's that sound?
Gotcha.
And so they start skittering around and kind of like bopping up and down, and like they're like approaching you, but not like directly. They kind of, again, they're kind of flanked on either side of you, just kind of bopping up and down, waiting to see what you do.
In this case, I either, whether if I have to for, oh, here we go. Instead of savvy, I will use know-how. If based on technical, I am going to try to use know-how savvy to try to appear to be non-threatening to these creatures.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. Did you have a roll?
I'm going to roll.
Yeah. I heard dice and I was like, did he roll already?
That was a 2.
A 2. Okay. Are you non-threatening? Like, do you bear them any ill will?
At this point, I have not drawn any weapons. My pliers are put away because I jumped down. I have nothing in my hands.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll say that you are doing all sorts of kind of like hands up, like, whoa, hey, little guy, how you doing? What's up? And you're just kind of very non-threatening. Do you approach them at all, or do you stay back?
I stay back. I let them make the first move.
Okay, yeah, so they kind of are a little cautious, and they kind of sneak a little bit closer to you, and they're kind of checking you out and slowly moving a little bit closer. You can't really get a read on what they're feeling because they're little robots, but they don't seem to be like charging you. And the one, they had you flanked, but one of them kind of takes a wide circle around you to meet up with his buddy, and so now they're on the same side. And then Gray, you, with your perception or your insight of a 3, you hear some metal on metal tapping coming up from behind you as 3 of these little robots crawl up the back side of the gray structure.
Okay.
Do you do anything?
Now this hatch is open?
This hatch is open, yes. But it's not really like a hole into... It's a hole into the structure, but it's filled with more mechanical stuff. So it's not like you can jump in and...
Okay, so it's not like I can go in and hide. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just going to stay real still, but like at the edge.
Okay. Yeah, and so they come up and they're eyeballing you, and they one of them kind of comes up real close to you. Just like really close, like at your foot, and like taps your foot.
Mm-hmm.
You do anything?
At this point, I have my daggers out and I'm ready to attack, but not quite yet.
Okay. So he taps your foot, and when I describe these spiders, imagine that you had a sphere, and that sphere was on a post, and then that post was on a spider's body.
Oh.
And so that sphere is covered in lenses and things that you assume are cameras, and it can rotate around, and then all of the little feet, now that they're up close, you can see some of them are just kind of round feet, some of them are little claws and pinchers, some of them look like little tiny laser guns. But he just kind of tapped you with a round foot, and the little head rolls back to look at you and kind of like darts back and forth. Mm-hmm. And then he backs up because you don't do anything.
Yeah.
And then the head like swivels 180 degrees around, and you hear all this beeping, very R2-D2 tweeting sounds. And then the other little robots on the top all kind of like bounce up and down, and they start running to the hatch, and they like pick up the hatch and the gasket, and they're like putting the gasket in place, and they're putting the bolts back on, and they're putting the hatch back on, and you see their little lasers start like welding things back together. And then the one that's at Gray's feet, the little head rotates back around, and he just stares at you and just watches you. And that's what they do.
Yeah. As you can tell, I don't like insects, so I am just staring at it, hoping it doesn't touch me again, because if it does, I'm going to want to stab it right in the eyes. So I'm trembling and a little sweaty and a little freaked out and ready to just jump and run, but I don't want it to chase me, because that's my biggest fear besides a giant tick. So
that Ron will actually very gently approach one, maybe just like put a finger up.
Okay. So if you approach him, he kind of backs up a little bit.
Oh. And
so if you just stand there and put your finger out, he'll kind of like stare at your finger, and you see the little head stare up at you, and then stare at your finger, and then he'll stare up at you. And then while he's looking you in the eye, he'll lift one little foot and he'll touch your finger. But he doesn't break eye contact. Like, his cameras are focused right on you the entire time.
Coming this fall, the extraterrestrial.
And I think at this point, John whooshes back into appearance. And the little robots on the ground scatter, and they're like, oh my gosh, where did that come from? And they like all run and they hide behind the little structure.
all of them? The ones up top too?
The ones at top, they don't see anything.
Okay.
But the other little two go hide, and then they like peek their heads out around the corner.
Well, this is fascinating.
I'll put my hatchet away.
Yeah, I'm just gonna start talking to it and be like, is there somebody controlling these things? Hello? Is there somebody holding? Is there somebody? What's going on?
So they'll like, the one that's staring at you will turn around and like tweet at the other ones, and they'll tweet back, and then you'll hear the two behind the building start to tweet, and there's just kind of this symphony of robotic sounds, and then he turns his little head back to you and goes, repair?
Ah, it speaks.
Okay.
You repair?
I am...
I don't, but the guy down there does. And I point to Ron.
Yeah, that one.
I point to me and I shake my head. And then I point to Barbara Ron. I go, repair. Repair.
Yeah, they start chanting with you.
And Ron is just about to point to John, and yes.
So they all start chanting, repair, and there's 6 of them in total. They all gather around you and start bouncing up and down. Repair.
Like minions?
Yeah. And they kind of gather behind you and start like pushing you towards the podium.
Okay. Goodness gracious.
And so you are faced with a podium that John has touched, and so there's just kind of this keyboard of ancient language in front of you, and so if you want to make a know-how roll to see how much you have acquired in terms of language, I'd probably also let you do savvy or something like that, but I think know-how's your strength.
Yeah, know-how is my strongest suit. So I quickly try to wipe off the greasy smear of John's palm on this terminal.
Because he's not wearing gloves.
Why would you?
For a 3.
3, okay. You can make out about half of it. It essentially says, it seems to be saying, it's asking for some kind of credentials. And there's this blue kind of flashing square on the screen. You kind of get the feeling that you were supposed to put something there, but you don't know what.
I would like to yell down to Ron. Say representative!
Why?
I don't know. It's something my great-grandmother told me.
I bet she did. I bet she loved you as a little scrapper. Oh wait, no, John's a scrapper.
Yeah.
Let's see, blue square. So I look around to see if there's anything obviously square shaped that looks like that would belong to that podium.
So they'll kind of follow you around as you look for stuff, and every time you walk away, they kind of push you back. And I would imagine that at some point this would become a little frustrating, and you try to explain to them like what you're trying to do. And so one of them will crawl up on top, and he'll touch the little square, and it won't do anything, and he'll like tap it more frantically, and he just kind of gets upset with it. And then they all kind of leave, and they have like a little circle of themselves. And then they go up to you and say, authorized?
I'll try. And so with that, he'll try to put his palm on it, see what happens.
Yeah, you put your palm on it, it doesn't do anything.
I tried,
They all go back into a circle, and they go back to you and go, repair. Real repair?
I can repair.
Repair. Will repair?
I will try.
Will repair. Yes. And then they all go back in their little circle, and you hear this tweeting as they start talking to each other, and then one of them reaches back and grabs one of the 6 and shoves him into the middle of the circle, and he like his head starts spinning like what's going on, and then they all grab him and they start pulling on him, and they pull their own little lasers and they start like cutting him, and they pull him to pieces. And then they all pick up the pieces and they bring them to you and they put them in a pile, and then they all back up and say, repair?
And with that, Ron just kind of looks at Gray and John, and I'm like, this is the second most gruesome test I've just been given. He'll try to repair.
Okay. I only ask because John is a techno-archeologist. Would you want to assist with this?
Yeah, I was gonna kind of, be over his shoulder and be like, "Do you want some help with this?"
Please.
Yeah. Cool. And so you can both roll know-how mechanical to try and put this little robot back together.
I actually have jury rig as a boon too.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I could use that.
Totally.
I don't know what that
Yeah,
gives
you could totally
me,
do
but I'll
that.
just roll.
Jury rig, I think we said, lets you make anything, but the harder the thing, the harder the roll would be. But you have all the parts right there.
Yeah.
It's sitting right
okay.
in front of you, so this is very doable.
So at this point,
so I got.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is this a know-how? Sorry.
Yeah, this is know-how, and if you want to use jury rig, I think you added a 1d6 to your roll if you want.
Oh, wow.
But you can do that after you roll if you want.
Yeah, because so I got a 2, 3, 4. I got a 5. So
Yeah, you're better than me.
Yeah, that's great.
let's go
That's
with
great.
that.
So yeah, I'll take the 5, and you. They pulled them apart in a very clean fashion, and so you can more or less just kind of plug them all back together. There's a couple little spots where you wish you had something that you could kind of like weld back together, and they'll see you trying to put it back together, and one of them will run up with his little laser, and he'll like weld it for you if you just like hold it in place.
Nice.
And so you successfully, over the course of a couple minutes, reassemble this little robot who is like, he kind of like shakes a little bit, and then he just like wanders off. He was not very happy of that experience, but he's glad to be put back together. And so the other 5 will bounce up and down, repair, and then they will run back into these little holes on the side of the structure. And you hear this pneumatic like sucking of air, and then the doors close.
Right? So
What did we just say?
I think we just got conscripted into fixing this place.
Yeah, what was in the top hole they saw?
Just a bunch of gears and stuff. Mechanical stuff.
Wait, gears and mechanical stuff. Anything square?
I don't know, they just sealed it back up. I can't see in there.
So after a few minutes of silence and conversation, you hear again more mechanical grinding, and the front of the structure, which was covered again with this kind of like shabby overgrowth that looked like somebody had kind of placed it there. You hear this mechanical grinding, and the growth falls into the building as a door starts to slide down and recede into the earth, revealing an opening, a human-sized opening into the structure.
Well, I'll stick my head in.
Okay. This seems like an appropriate place to pause our recording. Next time we shall explore the inside of the ruin and hopefully come to the conclusion of our story. I want to say thank you to all of our patrons who gave to support our subscription to cloud recordings. Some of our audio was a little garbled, low fidelity, skipping, but luckily I was able to recover a huge portion of it through the cloud recording and got a significantly higher audio quality from that redundant recording. Our cloud backup wasn't running for about the first 15 minutes due to user error, aka us being a little too excited to start the podcast that we forgot to use our backup. However, after that 15-minute portion, we got our cloud recording going, and I think you can tell there's a significant increase in audio quality around that 15-minute mark, especially for Jeremy. So thank you again to all of our patrons and new subscribers. If you are not yet a patron and you would like to help support this secondary cloud backup, please head over to patreon.com/easyasabc. Thank you guys for listening. This is the ABC GM signing off. I'll see you next time.